Daybit Void is a mage from the Clock Tower's lore department. He later became a member of Chaldea and then the Crypters. He left the Clock Tower of his own choice, but some believe he was expelled from the Clock Tower. Among all the Crypters, he actually has the highest aptitude for summoning a servant, considering he summoned a Grand Assassin. He's definitely the strongest master and considered a genius who can achieve the impossible. He is easily capable of handling a singularity servant list for reasons we'll get to much later, on top of being able to handle the whole incineration of humanity by himself. And only him and Chaldea would actually make it this far compared to the other Crypters, with the ability to resuscitate himself, meaning he owes the alien god nothing, never needing to prove himself to be useful. When he was in the Clock Tower, where he belonged to the lore department for 8 years, his time prior to that is unknown for a reason. An incident happened where all magecraft in London and their surrounding associated academies suddenly froze, but it was thrown under the rug because what caused it was unknown. The Department of Lore has records showing that an angelic artifact was being studied at that time, and it was exposed for 0.2 seconds. It ended up erasing the instructor who was studying it, who was Daybit's father. Now nobody remembers, nor are there any more records of him existing. Because Daybit was also there but somehow survived, his records also no longer exist. Soon after, he would join the department at the assumed age of 10 based on his looks. Daybit himself felt alien from his fellow humans due to having actually been killed in that incident, assuming that he was actually reconstructed, basing this off of the idea from science fiction where if you go through a teleporter, you're broken down and by extension you die, and they're then reconstructed as a new you. He feels that his mind is no longer human, although his body is 100% human, just like he was before the accident. Even the lore department calls him not human due to this new perspective that he has after the incident. He can only remember 5 minutes of each day. Thus, he theorized that everything important in a person's day could be remembered within 5 minutes. This is also the origin of his name, because he remembers only a bit of each day. And Void comes from the artifact of emptiness passed down among the Semites, meaning the Semites is the Sem part and Void is in reference to emptiness. He also attained the ability, because of the incident, to see things from a cosmic perspective, in a way human technology is not able to do so yet, which is why Marsberry wanted him to join Chaldea and benefit of his plan that he would end up using Chaldeus for. In his time in Chaldea, he would eventually pull out a gun on Marsberry, telling him to stop Chaldeus, but Marsberry decided to take out a gun of his own and shoot himself because Chaldeus was more important than his own life. So Daybit had to find his own way to stop it, which we'll get to in a bit. While Daybit doesn't show up in a lot of the Lost Spell chapters, he did appear in the 4th Lost Spell with his cloaked Grand Servant, talking with Pepe to try to understand the situation to make sure he was still aligned with the Crypters and their goal. Meanwhile, in his own Lost Spell, Daybit ended up fighting Kamasots alone to a draw using only one command spell. And even though, due to the situation that happened in the Clock Tower, he is not considered human anymore, he was able to summon Tezcatlipoca using the power of the land, archetype Meta-Earth, aka Dino Arc, who was able to see everything from the 2nd to 8th layer of the Lost Spell cannot see Daybit, seeing him as dark with no light, someone who's there yet not at the same time. Even Da Vinci compares him to a mega-sized space structure called a super void. When Kukula Khan ended up shooting down the Storm Border and the alien god, he got Tezcatlipoca taking the alien god's heart, and Daybit implanted himself with it. to keep the alien god weakened, being unable to regenerate it, but we find out later in the story that she actually kept herself weak to stay in the company of Mash and the Master. Due to the incident, he ended up forming connection with the wooden angelic artifact, becoming a terminal of the Dark Star, being able to summon entities from 4 billion light years away, whose light cannot even reach the Earth. And I'm sure for gameplay and assets reasons, they just take the form of foreigners or those who could fit into the foreigner class. It is said by Comasotes that Daybit himself is just a mirror image, and that these entities can be summoned in abundance based on the amount of enemies Daybit is faced with. And Daybit's big plan was actually to awaken ORT, aka Ort, to destroy the Earth, but he ended up failing, and at the end of Lost Belt 7, the Master is brought to the realm between life and death to face Daybit and Tezcatlipoca. Whoever wins not only gets their life back, but whatever they pay to get brought back. In the Master's case, it is their command spells and their Master rights, and for Daybit, it's his chance to try once again with his plan. And of course, we already know the outcome. Daybit's whole plan stems from him knowing what Marsberry wanted, hollowing out the Earth to replace it with that of Chaldeus, completing his grand order. And he thought the best way to stop it, considering how far things have gone, was to destroy the Earth itself, because if Marsberry, who is an ally of humanity and its advancement, he would create a version of humanity who was the worst form of it in the universe, considering his different worldview. Because Daybit is somebody who could not be understood by others nor try to understand other people, he was alone and had to operate as such. For him, there is no compromise, just his goals that need to be achieved by any means he deems possible, which contrasts the Master, who has many allies to support them through thick and thin. Thank you for watching this video. Check out the video on screen or in the card, as well as my Ordeal Call to get an idea of what's happening next for Fate Grand Order.